Wake up in the morning about 5 a.m. Head down to the donut shop before I begin. Grab an apple fritter and a long john or two, but we're back on the roof at 5:42. We'll snap a chalk line, there's no time to clown around. We'll be toting them bundles and laying them down. Pop, 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 goes a nail gun in my hand. Those white-collar boys just wouldn't understand. Pop, 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 goes a nail gun in my hand. There's something about shingling makes you feel like a man. Is it the sweat on my brow or the split in my jeans? The whole neighborhood can see everything. I shimmy to the peak screaming I'm the king of the world. I'm getting lots of laughs from the neighborhood girls. If I was them I wouldn't laugh so hard. I got Polaroids of them tanning in their backyard. Pop, 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 goes a nail gun in my hand as I'm pinning them up in the back of my van. Pop, 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 goes a nail gun in my hand. There's something about shingling makes you feel like a man. Well, the foreman shows up at 11:45. We've been laughing at him since we arrived. So much material, where to begin? He's got that funky mole growing out of his chin. In his preppy khaki shorts and his tight polo shirt, he lubes up with sunscreen so his ears don't get burnt. Pop, 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 goes a nail gun in my hand as I'm tacking him down to the roof of my van. Pop, 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 goes a nail gun in my hand. There's something about shingling makes you feel like a man. Well, I'm not saying we're the savviest crew. There's a whole lot of things that we don't know how to do. When the job is done, we head out of town. When the roof starts leaking, we're nowhere to be found. Pop, 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 goes a nail gun in my hand as I fire a warning shot at the lawman. Pop, 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 goes a nail gun in my hand. There's something about shingling makes you feel like a man. As we head up the hill, I hear the siren sound. I look back at my partner as he waves them around. Looks like we're gonna get stopped, not on my watch. I'm gonna give that Smokey all that I got. I raise a boom hoist on my pimped out ride. I throw a box of plastic caps out on my left side. As he tries to come around, his tires go flat. So I bust out his window with a tube of blackjack. Pop, 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 goes a nail gun in my hand as we pull into the donut shop where it began. Pop, 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 goes a nail gun in my hand. There's something about shingling makes you feel like a man.
I was just writing a little song, and it goes something like this. Waiting for my brother to get onto the cast. I've been sitting so long, it's flattened my ass. It used to be bubbly and around as can be. Now if you look at me sideways, it's like looking at a Frisbee. How's it going?
Hey. All right. I woke up this morning at 5 a.m. I went down to the donut shop before I began. You might be asking what I'm holding here in my hand.
Well, I know, but how about you describe it for the listener?
All right. This is Boss Stitch, covered with good old blackjack.
That's a good brand.
My motto is you can never have enough blackjack. It's a coil roofing nailer, your primary custom one here. Still has some in the clip.
Nice.
It's always good to keep a few in reserve in case you have to throw down.
You got to have some in the clip.
That's what she said.
Well,
so yeah, it's just regular coil roofing nailer used for roofing. Boss Stitch is my brand. Been using it a long time. You can see the scuffs, see the wear and tear. It's not one that I just went out and bought just for this skit.
That would be quite an investment. I'd be very proud of your dedication to the skit and to the cast. So
and this hat, wore it through most of my roofing years, and I don't know if you can see that.
Well,
R&R Roofing, Lyman, Colorado.
Looks like it's got the perma-sweat on it. Well, I think it's got some permanent sweat stains on it there.
It does. The salt stains are there. Plus, I was riding my recumbent bike for about 15 minutes warming up just for this, so I could have some
Jeez.
sweat on my brow. That's 15 minutes of prep work to prepare. You're welcome, listeners.
So the nail gun, tell us what sound that nail gun makes.
Well, it depends. It depends if you're, a veteran, or if you're just a novice or a greenhorn. If you're a greenhorn, it probably goes pop, pop, pop.
Ouch!
Yeah, there you go. Or if you're a seasoned veteran like myself, it goes pop, 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 pop.
Ah.
Goes a nail gun in my hand.
That brings us to tonight's podcast. This is the Polyester Man podcast with Jason and Russell Anderson, i.e. Biff Bobcat Rogers and Bud Catfish Dickerson. And tonight we are unpacking the song Pop, 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 Goes a Nail Gun in My Hand. Goes a Nail Gun in My Hand is in parentheses, like a lot of thoughtful songs. So it's pop,
Yeah.
pop, 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 parentheses,
pop,
goes
pop,
a
pop,
nail gun in my hand.
pop, 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 pop. Yeah, you get into the rhythm, and once you get into the rhythm, you just flow and lay those shingles down like a champ.
Yeah, I remember I was thinking about kind of an intro for this podcast on my way to work today, and I was thinking about how, when a storm comes to town, when a big hailstorm comes to town, about a month or two later, if you get up early in the morning, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, you're out and about walking through a neighborhood, you're going to see nothing but blue tarps on the sidewalk and hear that sound, pop, 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 as the roofers throw down new shingles.
That's right. You have the fly-by-night roofers who just come out of the woodwork, and they come in with no experience and give you a bid, and if your roofs start leaking, they're nowhere to be found because they roll out of town. Then you have your locals that rely on it for their livelihood. So there's a sense of pride in a job well done.
Yeah, and your word has to mean a little bit more because you see them at the grocery store or in church or at school or whatever. So yeah, two different kinds of groups do this work. What kind of group were we? I know I was in that group for a shorter amount of time, but explain to us a little bit about what kind of group we were in when we shingled in Chadron.
I would say we were definitely the blue collar group. Them white collar boys, they don't understand. So, it was, Chadron, Nebraska is where we went to college. We've talked about that a lot. That's where we really, got into the roofing big time. Subcontractors, if you will, for a man that didn't really pay us well, but we didn't know any better. Just college kids looking to make better money, and it was a summer gig.
And that's the thing. Yeah, the shingling money was better than a lot of college jobs that you could get. It might not have been fair or wasn't as much as maybe we were worth, but it was better. So it attracted a lot of college kids.
I can name at least maybe 3.
And it attracted a lot of bozos in Chadron.
Yeah, but
myself, yourself, and Eric Grimm.
Yeah, and that's where we got started, and it's manual labor. Like Bud and I grew up on a ranch, working hard in the summers. We were hauling hay, fixing fence, doing whatever. So sweat on your brow, and wasn't anything
sweat in your
new.
crack.
Oh yeah, that's why I got you the monkey butt, Gold Bond monkey butt powder, anti-monkey butt. You got to stop that chafing.
That's right.
But it was, you're out in the sun and manual labor, and it's just something. It's like you have a skill set that is something that you can catch on to, and yeah, it was hard work. And when you're a young college kid, you're in good shape. It's a way to stay in shape. Hauling the bundles, each bundle's like 80 pounds. And when you're a young buck in your prime, you like to try to show off and carry 2 at a time, up a ladder. And I remember one house, we called it the Devil House in Chadron, right on the main drag there. First, before you are able to put on the shingles, you have to tear off the old ones. And this house had, I think, 7 layers.
So for people listening, when we say 7 layers, like when a house has one layer of shingles put on originally, when something happens to the roof, I mean, there are all kinds of different laws and rules and stuff, but what you probably should do is take that layer off, start over and put on a new layer.
That's what a quality roofer would do.
But a lot of roofers, or maybe if it was the people that just shingled it themselves, they're trying to save some money, they'll just do what they call an overlay. And so instead
they lay the shingles over the other shingles
multiple times. So continue. This house had seven layers of shingles on it. So we're looking at probably, an
inch and a half or 2 inches thick. So there are different types of shingles out there. You have your asphalt shingles. There's black and sticky, smell like tar, and in the shadron summer they become syrupy, and you scuff them up and you get yelled at for scuffing them up. Then we have what are called the wood shakes. Those are like the older ones, and those are covered in little teeny tiny nails that are a bastard to pull out. Mm-hmm. Some of your lazier roofers pound nails in, but your better roofers and your ones who actually care about a quality product pull the nails. But the wood shakes, they are covered in dust. Think of it, like 30 years of just dirt being on your roof. Mm-hmm. And you're tearing into that, and the dust just blows up in your face, and you're breathing in, fart smoke from 1910. And
they healthier back then. It was probably better for you.
Organic fart smoke, none of this processed stuff that they're producing today. But yeah, I think that was the first one that you joined us on, and it was a miserable time. And we didn't have a dump truck at the time. So all we had to haul the shingles off with was White Fang, which is a 1966 Ford pickup that, had a ladder rack on at the time. So what we did, we laid a tarp at the bottom of the house and, tore off the stuff and laid it on the tarp. And it got to the point where the pile was so big, we didn't need a ladder. We would literally just walk up the pile of debris and walk onto the house. And I think when we finally got that last layer off, the roof of the house was bowed and it just kind of popped up like a like a trampoline. Yeah. And it had eaves that overhung. And I don't know if you remember this, but like the eaves of the house, most eaves are like maybe a foot. So if you're sitting on the eave, you don't have to really worry about it collapsing with you. But this house had about probably a 4 or 5 foot eave overhang. So at the peak, it would kind of bounce up and down, and you would think that the whole house was coming down.
Well, I'll tell you about that. So like when I was roofing with you and Eric, and then when I roofed for a summer there in Kimball, I could work as hard as anybody, tear off as fast as anybody until I got about 6 feet from the edge. And then strong Jason with the fork shoveling the shingles sat down on his butt and kind of scooted very slowly. And about however far I could reach with my hand in front of me when I was 6 feet from the edge, that was how far I was going to go. So, Afira Heights is not fun, but.
Oh, yeah. I remember, I think I gave you a hard time because, you're trying to get to a nail that was on the very, very edge. And you were literally like laying on your back, plastering, like just flinging your arm with the hammer at it.
I think I really missed out on an opportunity to build an extendo hammer, like a 4-foot hammer that way people who had a Fair Heights could just sit and reach and do all the work from there. Real missed opportunity on my part.
There are a few things that a roofer really goes through. Number one, you wear out shoes a lot because you don't want to get like really expensive shoes up there because, you're going to tear them up, scuff them up. So you buy kind of inexpensive tennis shoes, which are not the best, but you wear out shoes fast. The second thing, at least in my case, that I wore out a lot were pants. And, the nails, you catch your pants on nails and it tears them. And on this same devil house, I got a little bit of a, I guess a European sunburn, as we'll call it. I
don't even know what that is. Let's hear about that, because I'm thinking vertical, but I'm thinking maybe you mean horizontal.
Well, I'm not I'm not sure what you're meaning. With
I thought you like
horizontal.
I thought you like split the down the crack because we've got a photo of that.
Yeah, well, yeah. So like, I don't think so.
European
my pants,
sunburn. I like it.
Yeah, that I just made that up. That just happened tonight. So, I split. It wasn't like a direct split up my butt crack on my pants. It was on each cheek, like to the left of center, and it tore up like both cheeks. So I had like a little scratch on each of my butt cheeks, and I'm roofing in the Shadron sun, and so get home that night, and there's not a lot of me that sees the sun. I mean, the neck up, the elbows down, and that's about it. And so got home and, getting ready to take a shower. And, Bud and I were roomies together in college. So he got to see it firsthand. And I had like two bright tomato red crescents on each butt cheek. And it was, a crescent on the left cheek that was solid red, a crescent on the right cheek that was solid red with a lot of white and hair in between. So, the stories are real. You can't make that up. And yeah, I think there are pictures that document it. If the viewers are ever lucky to come across them, there are a lot of probably incriminating photos of me and things throughout the years.
I was talking about the one where you in your brown gear pants for the gig.
Yeah,
and you split out the center. And
yeah,
so
that was the center.
So
that wasn't a roofing accident.
We're going to tell you a little bit about our vanity and how it kind of came back to possibly bite us and incriminate us. So, when you're wearing tight polyester, you don't want to show no panty lines. So you wear a jock strap when you're in those.
We proudly, the Hillbilly Junction Boys are sponsored by the Duke.
The Duke.
That's right, the Duke, the king of athletic supporters. You used to be able to get them at Walmart. I don't think they sell them anymore. I believe the Duke has been discontinued.
Supporting your banana in the hammock since 1910 when that house was last shingled.
Yep. Here's to the Duke. Yeah. So yeah, you wore that just for the support. And go back to how I split them out. So
we have a picture of Russell. We're getting ready for a gig, and he split out the back of these pants. And I've got a picture somewhere of nothing but moon, nothing but a thin crescent of moon right down the center. So I don't know if it's waxing or waning, but it was doing something. No waxing, probably. No waxing.
No, there was no waxing. That
waning.
That was before my mail order groom days when I paid more attention to manscaping.
Right.
But, and there was another time, too, if you remember, when kind of the Hillbilly Junction Boys were born, and our first, our harvest or Halloween party is when I very first split out my pants. Do you recall that?
Yep.
And there again, I was just in the jock strap and, busting a move and tore out the pants. And there were a lot of people around, and went and first we tried to find a stapler. Tried to staple them shut.
Yeah, I remember that.
Then I think we found some Scotch tape.
Scotch tape.
So,
the Scots.
We tried to tape it shut. And I can't remember how it ended. I may have just ended up going home. I'm not sure. But there were far more people in there trying to help me pull my polyester back together than I probably would have wanted it to be. And, people just kept coming in because they were fascinated by the story.
They're like, what? You didn't wear underwear under this?
They're like, who doesn't wear underwear? Well, clearly this guy.
I was protecting myself against a split in the front.
Yeah, that was like, and we were talking about, speaking of not wearing underwear, this is a story that I think but doesn't involve you. So like Eric Grimm, we've mentioned his name a time or two. He and I, Jason, would come and help us occasionally, but Eric and I, hit it really hard in Shadron that summer. And Eric and I were roofing a house together, and for whatever reason, he decided that wearing sweatpants shorts was the way to go. And he didn't even, wear a jock strap. He like literally had nothing on underneath, which there again, I don't understand. But he's climbing up the ladder in front of me, and I look up and I can see his beanbag, whipping back and forth, and he starts laughing at me because he just stands on the ladder. He's like, "You like that?" And I just start cracking up laughing because he thinks he's sticking it to me by making me stare at his beanbag. But at that point, I'm looking straight ahead, and this is the kitchen window of this house where like their 13-year-old daughter happens to be standing and is eye level with Eric right there. And
beanbag.
I don't know what she saw or how much she saw, but this is a family that went to church with Eric. So, he's like, "Yeah, suck on that, ass clown." I'm like, "Yeah," I said. And I was just cracking up. I said, "Yeah," I said, "that you've just traumatized that young lady for life." And yeah, so he was a little embarrassed after he realized what was happening. But yeah, that's why you at least wear the Duke, at least the Duke. At
least cover the beanbag. Yep. Got to cover all the bases. Got to cover all the bags.
Yeah, and I mean, what roofer roofs in, sweatpants shorts. Right. At least wear, form-fitting spandex or like a unitard.
Yeah, right.
So that one's for you, Eric Davis Grimm.
Do you have any other stories about stuff that you might have saw when you were working doing houses?
Oh,
because you get a bird's eye view.
You do. You do. There are times that, you're out in the heat, and when in the summers, it's like 90, 95 on the ground on the roof. I don't know. It's like asphalt shingles. It's like the asphalt in the street, where they say it gets so hot, you can bake an egg on it. And like streets in Phoenix in the summer, when they get so hot, they become almost liquidy. Mm-hmm. So it's the same premise there. That heat off the roof is baking you. And, there are times when like I would get done after like 15 hours and your face is just like crazy red. And it's not because of like the sun hitting down on you so much as it's an oven off of there. So I tell that long story to get a little longer by like, if you eat any food at all and you're out in that heat, things start to rumble in your gut, and you got to make the run to the bathroom. So many a time and many a roof, people have let us or me into their home to use their bathroom, and I'm pretty sure that after I am done, were regretting their choice. So
can you take the damage off our bill?
Yeah. So you see some interesting stuff, and, luckily never fell through a roof or anything like that in all the years of doing it. And after college, went to Lyman, Colorado, where I taught, and that's where R&R roofing was born. Little R, a friend of mine and friend of yours, he and I roofed together. And so, you see a lot of stuff, and yeah, it's kind of a big thing, because people are depending on you to make sure that everything under their roof is safe and sound after you're done. Mm-hmm. And because, if you mess up and it rains and their house floods, we didn't have insurance. You don't have money to, scratch that,
I think the statute of limitations has run out on leaky roofs, but yeah, I remember, several years before Shadron, we roofed with our cousins Kirk and Marty and their dad, our uncle Don. And I remember going, they had done a roof, and I think it was a commercial roof, and it was leaking. And I think maybe it was the second day I rode with them and you weren't there, but it was leaking, and they went back and fixed it and, tested it. And so you got to make sure it's right. But it's hard on some of those roofs that have like different peaks and valleys and places where the flashing's weird. Sometimes it's hard to get it sealed, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Well, like I said, I did 1 year in college, and then for about another 6 or 7 summers after that. And, you get a lot of roofs done in that time. And knock on wood, none of them ever leaked. So, I mean, I was very fortunate. There were some interesting episodes. Like, I'll tell you this one story when I was roofing down in Lyman. So White Fang was initially owned by Eric's dad, Big Steve, and then Big Steve gave it to Eric, and then Eric, sold it to me, and I used it and still, drive it some today. White Fang still is very much alive, but that was my roofing pickup. And down in Lyman, if you don't have a dump truck, you either have to like rent, a box that costs you money, or have your own dump trailer. So got went and found a dump trailer out of a sale at Brush, Colorado. So I had a 1966 Ford and this old homemade dump trailer. So, that was what I used. And one time we were roofing this house, some friends of mine, Little R, and a couple of guys that helped us down in Lyman, and had a guy that was going to move the pickup, move White Fang, and he got in and drove it around. And the trailer was connected to it, and he just goes around the block. Well, he comes back like 2 minutes later, or however long it took him to get around the block, and it's just White Fang.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't know if you've heard of this or not.
No, I haven't.
It's like we'll call him Kelly. I'm like, Kelly. I'm like,
where's my trailer?
Where the hell's the trailer? And he's like, oh, because like, I guess someone at some point had like unlocked the hitch on it. So it was technically on the pickup, but the hitch wasn't locked. So he's like, oh, when I was coming around the corner, it just popped off the hitch and started rolling down the street.
Oh my gosh. I'm
like, holy crap. And apparently it started rolling like this is, a 20-foot grain box. I mean, you're talking a lot of weight.
Sure.
And a gooseneck to boot. And it was rolling down the street, cross street. And the only thing that stopped it, and there again, thank you, God, for watching over me, because had this gone south, there's no way, I mean, we can joke about it now because
Sure.
Nothing got hurt and no one got hurt, but it had come undone and shot across the street, and Lyman's not busy traffic, but going directly into this guy's yard,
Oh my
which
gosh.
it would have slammed like completely into the house. The only thing that helped it was the jack on it caught the ledge of grass on the median before it jumped the sidewalk into this guy's house. So what do? You drive by, drive onto the guy's yard, hitch up your trailer, and pretend it didn't happen. So yeah,
when that trailer come unhitched, we're nowhere to be found.
There again, you can't make this up.
Yeah.
And another time, before I started roofing with Little R, it was just me, and there was this janitor at Lyman. He was kind of my helper, so it was he and I, and like we did them just he and I together. And it was about summertime, somewhere in July in Lyman. And for those of you that don't know, Lyman, Colorado had a big tornado that came through in the late or early 90s. So the weather down there, it's known for bad weather. So it was about 8:30 at night. And I was just finishing up this house, putting on the ridge cap. And the ridge cap, well, the ridge is like the peak of the house.
Where the two sides come together.
Where the two sides come together. And you put on ridge cap. Ridge cap is basically the size of a big napkin or a paper towel. And so you put them on one little bit at a time, and it covers up that seam. Because if you don't, there's nothing covering it, and water will just go straight down into your house. So anyhow, I'm finishing up ridge cap, trying to sew it up, and I have about 10 feet of ridge cap left to go, and it's getting dark, and it's thundering and lightning and getting ready to rain, and I'm on the peak of this house, so clearly I'm holding a metal, nail gun, so I'm just a big lightning rod waiting to get struck by lightning here, but I'm also trying to get it sealed up before the rain starts coming down. And it's getting dark, so I can't really see. And I'm just flying along, boom, 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 laying stuff down. And I'm holding down a ridge cap. I go, boom, boom. Well, on the second boom, I shot a nail into my thumb. So that was fun. And, a little story on that. So they tell you, don't pull something out once you've shot
it through, but
Right.
and like roofing nails, they are coiled together, so they have like little barbs, so you can't pull it out. And there's a big round flat head on the top, so you can't push it through. So what I did, I pushed it down and used tin snips and cut off the bottom, and then pulled it off and wrapped it. Then drove myself the 20 miles or so to Hugo, Colorado, which is where the emergency room is. So I get there around 9 o'clock at night. Well, their x-ray machine's not working, so they can't give me an x-ray. They give me a pill about the size of my thumb of penicillin, and then they take like this plastic syringe.
Penicillin.
Yeah, feeding my addiction there. So there's a story for another time. I'm not addicted to penicillin, listeners. That was a humorous joke.
You'll have to go back a couple episodes because we've told the story. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have. So anyhow, they're, sticking this syringe like through, I see this plastic tube going through my thumb. Like you could see the hole. And they cleaned it all out. And the doctor told me, it's like, is everything going to be, I asked him if everything's going to be okay. He's like, well, we can't see if there's any, broken bones because the x-ray machine doesn't work. And he's like, tonight's going to be important. He's like, if you wake up and your thumb's black, that's bad.
Oh my gosh.
And he's like, if it's not, you're in good shape. So that's kind of, that would be me. Like, I don't even have a medical degree, and I could say that if your thumb's black, that's probably bad.
So how's your thumb doing? Pretty good?
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah, right there. Yeah, just one of those.
Just another one of these. Thumbs up, boys.
Yeah. So, that night, talk about not being able to sleep. I just laid there like all night. I think maybe I got an hour of sleep. I mean, I fell asleep sometime, but like all night long, I'm just sitting there with my thumb up, staring at my thumb. And, it's good. There again, God is great, has saved me and has watched over me on countless times. So,
yeah. And that's something, a lot of people I don't think realize how dangerous manual labor is, because you've got a lot of stories. I know that little R, he used to shingle with, he fell off a roof, ended up everything was okay, but that was very scary.
Yeah, that was my last roofing job, and I walked away from it from then. Yeah, that was a scary time.
Yeah. My experience with roofing, I never found myself in any danger except for one time, like Russell said, he and Eric, shingled in college. I think I did 3 jobs with you, and then I got a real job. I started working at the print shop there.
He was working for the man.
I was one of them white collar boys we sing about. So
yeah.
But anyhow,
to work in his fancy shirt and pants.
Right. Yep. I had bathroom privileges.
Where he wore underwear.
So I didn't have all of the long experience that Russell did, but every once in a while I'd help him on a house in Chadron, and then I helped him on a couple when he lived in Cheyenne. And I remember, one I came up to help you with, and it was hot like always. I mean, that's just part of the deal, like Russell said. I mean, if it's hot on the ground, it's hotter on the roof. And you're supposed to just drink water, stay hydrated. And I went through probably 2 of those red gallon jugs. Salt tablet. Have a salt tablet. But I thought I was drinking and everything. I didn't feel any, and I was still younger. I was in better shape then. And so I wasn't physically bothered by the work, and I didn't feel like I was dehydrated. And I get back to Russell's place. I'm going to stay there overnight. And I go lay down. I'm getting ready to go to bed. And all of a sudden, like, all of my body just kind of seizes up. And like I was cramping, like my whole body. And I'd never had that happen. And I was pretty scared. But I come upstairs and I'm like, Russell, this is what's happening. He's like, oh, just take 2 Benadryl and this big thing of Gatorade. He'd had it happen before, and he had a plan. So, I mean, for all those people out there who are thinking about roofing or who are doing this type of work, just talk to Russell. He's got an anti-dehydration system for you. It worked, but it was scary because I'd never had that happen, and it was so. Stay hydrated out there, people.
Oh yeah, that's right. High quality H2O, and I know Bud laughed about the salt tablets, but it's like I use them because you take, when you sweat out, that's what's left behind, these sweat stains that are still, like I said, on this one, you just get the white because that's salt that's leaving your body. So yeah, I did. I had, they're called thermal tabs. So I don't know if they sponsor us, but maybe they will. So thermal tabs.
I mean, we put a lot
brand
out
of
there.
roofers.
Thermal tabs, the Duke, Benadryl, Gatorade, Blackjack, Boss Stitch. I mean, I think we've got a lot of potential there. I mean, if
Valvoline, we're
right.
Busted Chops. We promote Valvoline.
Right.
Hardee's.
Right. That doesn't even exist anymore, I don't think. So maybe they should.
There's still a Hardee's.
Is there
around.
in Chadron? Is there still a Hardee's?
I don't think it's there, but there was one in Cheyenne. There's still Hardee's here.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good to know.
It flies under the name Carl's Jr.
Oh, that's right. Okay,
still Hardee's.
Okay, all right.
Duct tape. All of these companies if you want to give us some dividends for getting your name out there to the people.
Dividends. Yeah.
We're not going to turn them down, or royalties, whichever.
Right.
I'm not sure what the right term is. Dividends, royalties.
I think back royalties too, for all the times we plugged them in the past, and whatever percentage of the profits is due us after 20 years.
Or all of the times they've plugged us.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you, duct tape.
Duct tape and Blackjack have plugged us plenty of times. Scotch tape, not so good. Not so good.
Yeah.
Scotch tape gets a.
I wouldn't endorse.
Thumbs down.
I wouldn't endorse.
Scotch tape gets a broken thumbs down.
Broken thumbs down for Scotch tape.
Yeah.
2 thumbs up for duct tape.
Yeah.
My gray sticky friend. That's another podcast. There's a whole song that we've written about.
That's true, tape. And that was from an older album. So let's talk a little bit about. I think we've talked about the story, but let's kind of let it ruminate. The verse that talks about running from the lawman and the friend waving him down.
Oh, so, yeah, that part's most of that is true, minus the firing the warning shot and throwing out plastic caps.
Yeah,
but so Shadron, there were 3 of us. Eric Grimm, myself, and then Mike Source, as we'll call him. Mike Source was driving White Fang, and Eric and I were in the dump truck, and we just finished a house way south of Shadron, probably about 15 or 20 miles. So this is like 8:30 at night. We've just got a 15 or 16-hour day in, and we're worn out and dirty and driving. And I think we talked about this story in another podcast.
I think we did,
but this is where it actually happened. So we are heading out back into Shadron, and we're driving along there, and we get up, start heading up this hill, and like we head up the hill, and I hear the siren sound. I look back at my partner as he waves him around. Well, we're getting ready to go up this hill, and we have a 1966 Ford with stuff flying out of the back. We have a 1960-something dump truck with our load not tarped, and I don't really think that any lights were working on anything. So, pretty illegal as far as the street legal laws go. But so we look back and we see the state trooper, and sure enough, the lights come on, and siren, not just lights, siren too, because it's like, we clearly didn't hear him. You're in a dump truck without a muffler. You just keep driving.
True. Yeah, that's true.
And so we look back in the mirror, and it's like, what? We're the only ones out on the road. So clearly he's there to pull us over. And Mike Source, who is, he's right behind Mike Source. And we look back, and Mike has his arm out the window waving for the officer to like come around. And it's like, he's not coming around, Mike. We're getting pulled over, so we got pulled over, and watching Mike tries to get out of the pickup because Mike's the first one back, so he opens the door, and the officer's like, get back in your pickup, in your pickup, and.
Yeah, because this, like you said, this isn't like a Shadron cop that you probably knew.
No.
This is a state patrolman.
This is Nebraska.
That's a big no-no.
Nebraska State Patrol. If it's local Shadron PD, we knew most of them, and we're pretty tight with them. We have a song about Shadron PD too, on an older album. But anyhow, he talks to Mike for a little bit after he yells at him for getting out, and then comes up with us, and it's like, hey, Do you know why I pulled you over? And, he's like, what are you guys up to? And it's like, come on, Einstein.
Yeah.
We have a dump truck full of shingles. We're covered in dirt and grime. We have shingle tools falling out of the back of the pickup. Clearly, we're going to the prom. But you don't say that because you don't want to get arrested by the state patrol.
Right.
And it's like, we weren't speeding or anything. None of the vehicles could go that fast. But, there were some laws that were being broken. Like our lights didn't work. We got in trouble for that. Our load wasn't tarped. We got in trouble for that. So, we could have gotten a lot of fines and tickets. But, we told him that, we're just, going back to Shadron. We've been working all day. So there again, God is great. And Mike Source, I think tried to pull out his, youth minister, speech about how he's just, praising the Lord and we're doing the Lord's work, that kind of thing. But whatever it was. And, we got off with just a warning, but yeah, that whole story is true. So, we could have gotten a lot of tickets.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned Mike's source. So let's talk about the source of that word, and we'll talk a little bit about the foreman for the crew, because we sing about him in the song as well.
We'll refer to this man as just the foreman. So Eric and I got hired by the foreman, and he hired us on as what he called subcontractors. Because if we were employees, he would have to have paid us like disability and insurance and all of that. Mm-hmm. So it was his way of skirting the system. And he paid us $20 a square, which is 3 bundles of shingles. 3 bundles of shingles makes a square. And every bundle has about 22 or 23 shingles. So, so that was how the roofing game worked on that. So he paid us $20 a square for tear off, $20 a square for putting on. We thought that sounded pretty cool until we realized that we were splitting it. I was getting $10 a square. Eric was getting $10 a square. So, but he's like, you're making an honest wage. Don't tell anybody. You want to be modest. And that was there again, his way of making sure that other people didn't know how bad he was ripping us off. Mm-hmm. So anyhow, the foreman, so we, subcontracted out, and when he was showing us, because, it was different. So he gave us a little on-the-job training, like 10 or 15 minutes. We caught on fast. He watched you for a while and then sent you on your merry way. But he was shingling a roof, and we'd help strip it. And we're just standing there, and he has his bundle of shingles, grabbing them and putting them on. And all of a sudden, he's out of shingles, and he just doesn't even look. He just like, shingle source. And like Eric and I just kind of stand there, and he's like, shingle source. We didn't know what he was talking about. So Eric and I are just like laughing. And he's like, he looks at us, and he's like, that's you. You're the shingle source. You're the source of my shingles. Go get me more shingles. So that's our source. And ever since then, we just took that and we ran with it.
Sure.
And, so it was like we talk about the foreman showing up at 11:45, after our first roof that he watched us on, he never really came. Or if he did, he wouldn't get on, but he'd come and, check in just every now and then. But he literally would come up in his khaki shorts and tight polo shirt. He had a mole on his face, and, he'd always lather up, like sunscreen would be like dripping from his ears. And no knocking sunscreen. You should wear it, that's why I wore this hat. So, sunscreen was an important thing, but he lubed it on way too much. And there are a lot of stories that I could tell you about the foreman, but like he would show up, in his tight polo shirt. And one time Eric was going to challenge him. Well, Eric did challenge him to meet him on the lawn and have a rumble, because the foreman was very particular about which type of hammer we use. And apparently the S-wing was a requirement for anyone that subbed out for him. And it's like, you have to have an S-wing. And I don't know about what you guys know about hammers, but S-wings are not inexpensive hammers. But he's like, it'll save your wrist. And it's like, I don't really think, you care about our wrist there, foreman, But, and one time, I'm going to do a little earmuffs for you. You know the SBA hole, right?
Uh-huh.
So another funny story about the foreman. He came up and in his khaki shorts and his tight polo shirt, he came up on one roof. We're getting ready to kind of finish it up, and he went to kneel down, and we hadn't finished roofing it yet, so he just had bare knees. And I mean, the roof is probably like 110 degrees. So he kneels down and, burns his knee, and he's like, "Shit, bitch, asshole." Or that's what it sounded like to us. That's what we thought he said. Not like Eric and I just start laughing. We're like, did the foreman just say "shit, bitch, asshole"? Yeah. So, you have to look for the fun in things, because roofing itself is a terrible, painful profession that wears on your body.
But I think that's one of the good things about blue collar work, is how you do kind of find the fun beside the work, and you tend to, I think, develop strong bonds with the people you're working with, because you depend on each other.
Sometimes gold bonds,
right? Gold bonds,
medicated powder.
I think, that's always what we try to do with this podcast, is talk a little bit about the song and then a little bit about the stories that made the song. And I think
sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
The stuff about the donut shop, completely accurate. There was a donut shop in Chadron. We would hit it every morning, buy an apple fritter or two, more along the lines of two.
Well, and when you're doing that kind of work, you could eat 3 or 4 of them, and no worries, burning off the calories, now, I mean, and the ironic thing I was thinking about too is, like, we grew up blue collar, we did blue collar jobs out of high school, and you into your professional life. But now, I mean, we're both white collar boys. We have white collar jobs now.
White collar jobs with blue collar hearts.
Yep, there you go. I like that.
Blue collar roots.
Blue collar roots, and you can't pull out those roots.
No.
So
you can't dye those roots either.
No. So thanks for listening to the Polyester Man. What do you think? Anything that we want to have people share?
Sometimes we ask any kind of your blue collar injury gigs. It's like I've cut myself, put it in wiring before. Shot myself with a nail gun. I'm sure there have been multiple other injuries that you've had to do, and I've had to seal up wounds with gauze and duct tape, and
it's a good thing that the white collar life was waiting for you.
That's right, and I was able to keep all my fingers and all of that. But yeah, so I would say if there's like a blue collar injury that you've experienced,
yeah, there you go.
Tell us about it. If there's an embarrassing story, like splitting out your pants on a main street in a fairly busy college town where everyone can drive by and see your moon all day, because it was the side of the house facing the street, and I have to bend over because you're roofing, so any car driving by saw a lot of bare butt.
Well, on that note, we'll just say take it easy, listeners.
All right. Don't split out your pants, but keep your monkey butt powder handy.
Don't go showing off your beanbag.
That's right.
We'll see you guys all later.
Biff Bobcat Rogers. Pop, 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 pop.
Bud Catfish Dickerson. Goes the nail gun in my hand.